So STL released their new ControlHub software today, and they sent me a license about a week ago to check out, along with some of the artist packs, including Machine, Neal Avron, and my friend Mark Lewis. Now, I think the quality and just the sheer number of analog model plugins that have been coming out in the last few years has been one of the most exciting parts about being an engineer and embracing the technology. Now, STL already proved a few years ago that they could accurately model guitar rigs and bass rigs using their ToneHub software as accurately or more so than competitors like Kemper. And now they've taken some of that technology and applied it to channel strips, which is really cool to see. What's really impressive about ControlHub to me is that it can function as a one knob style plugin where you pick a preset that sounds good, maybe adjust the input level, and you're done, as well as giving more advanced users the ability to tweak compressor, EQ, and other effect settings after choosing a preset. In addition to that, for everyone who wants to learn more about what these producers are actually doing behind the scenes and what their channel strips consist of, ControlHub is actually going to show us what gear or plugins were used by the producer to create the change. So it's a great reference for learning what tools these guys use on a daily basis to create their sound. I think it's really cool that regardless of what's going on in the plugin, even if you turn on this limiter that's built in on every channel, it only uses about 300 samples of latency for delay compensation. And that's really low, even for just a limiter by itself. So before we jump into ControlHub, I just want to show you what I have here. This session is a song that I wrote a while back. So we're going to take a look at a couple different parts here. I'm just going to play it from the beginning here so you can get a vibe. Okay, so we got a number of different elements, but this has been comped down to just a few stems. And I like to do this because it's easy to get lost when you're building these complex signal chains. So especially when I'm mixing larger projects, I like to save the tracks that I use in case I need them later, but try and just get things down to as few tracks printed down with as few effects as possible. So let's load up some of the mix bus master presets from Machine, and we'll A/B between STL and this master chain, which is something like 15, 16 plugins. All right, so what we're going to do is start with this Better for Everything. I'll take your word for it, Machine. All right, so let's check out this section. I'm going to play the current master that I have going on here. And let's see if we can get the Machine chain to be about the same loudness. Now we could try pumping the input a little bit to see, you know, what happens when we push more compression and transformer color into this. So that's pretty crazy already. I mean, we got a huge bottom end and more of a scooped vibe than the more mid-rangey vibe that I had going. So, you know, not to say that's necessarily better, but what we're hearing is an emulated version of Transformer Color, the Shadow Hills comp, the Waves Lin MB, all these other plugins. And with just two little adjustments, I've got a master that is comparable, if not better, than my master with 16 plugins. So that's pretty wild. And that's just the first preset. Let's try another one. How about Guitar Focus, since this one is supposed to be kind of a guitar banger? Again, a little bit more scooped, but pretty cool. That guitar really does pop out. Now, another thing we could try is if you like your particular limiter, or in my case, I usually use a clipper and then a limiter. What we could do is just copy our settings over here, and why don't we compare without the limiter on ControlHub and with the limiter that I normally use on both versions. So first, let's hear my version with all the original settings, including the final clipper and limiter. And then STL, and let's check on how much clipping and limiting we're doing here. So it's pretty low. Let's turn the output of this track up. So again, we're using the original clipper and limiter from my mix and just using the rest of the mix bus processing that Maschine has put in here into this preset. And again, I'm pretty impressed with what it sounds like. Why don't we try some drum presets next? So we'll take a look at some of the individual channels, and then we'll go look at the drum bus. And the approach here is really, I'm just trying to make good sounds better rather than trying to replicate another chain or replace a chain that I already have. I'm just trying to see what these presets can add to my mix. So let's check out our snare right now. This is just the snare soloed out. Sounds pretty good. Let's see if we can add anything with some of the Mark Lewis presets. Let's see, snare bus reel. Let's try that first. So we gotta compensate the level here a little bit. Okay, that's cool. It's got some nice crack and some top in there. Let's try another one. I like that. This snare bus all in one. We've got a couple different EQs, transient designer, parallel bus. All right, this sounds pretty smacky. So one of the things I've found myself doing is once I find a preset that I like, I'll just dial in how much I want based on the mix knob and the input knob. So that's the mix at 0. So that's pretty cool. We've got the mix at about 40%, bringing some of that crack in. Let's move on to another piece of the kit. How about the kick? And again, we're going to go to Mark Lewis. Let's go to drums, kick bus 1. So really bringing out the high end. We might want to use this one in parallel as well. But that compression that it's adding is really fattening it up, and I like that. So again, let's try it with the mix knob. And it brings up some of the ambience too with the compression. I like that. All right, let's check out the drum bus. Here's what the drums sound like in this first part here. And then we're going to bypass our plugins there and try ControlHub. Let's try Mark Lewis drums, drum bus comp. We've got a bunch of different modes to try out here, so. I like the smack on that. So compared to our original bus, just real quick. The punchiness there is great, and it's definitely adding something. So again, maybe we do it in parallel and leave our original chain. That's one option. So we're getting a little bit of that extra punchy compression and saturation there. And going along with that, we have some drum buses here that are for parallel specifically. So let's try some of those. So that one's very punchy. This one's almost kind of clipped and very in your face. Very hot sounding. Let's see what that sounds like blended in. Pretty cool. Let's try this other one that was extra punchy. So we're losing a little bit of level, and we'll just make it up here, and then Again, just adding a little bit of that extra punchiness. And that's the approach that I've really been drawn to this last week or so of trying this plugin, is adding a little bit of color to tracks that I otherwise feel like they sound pretty good. And it also helps give me new ideas of what other people are doing to their tracks, and maybe I can apply those techniques to my own engineering. Okay, we're gonna take a look at the rhythm guitar bus and just see how we might be able to improve on tones that you're getting from ControlHub that are already pretty good, or from anywhere else. So again, for a refresher, here is the guitar tone I've got. Let's pick a different part. Pretty nasty and grindy, and this is going through all our bus processing too, so it might help to just try out some presets and see if we can find something that helps it just kind of sit in the mix a little bit better and thicken it up. So I went through a few presets and landed on this Neal Avron beefy rhythm guitar. Let's see what that sounds like bypassed. All right, we got a little bit of level matching to do. That's cool. Let's see what it sounds like in parallel here. Now between that, the console color here and whatever EQ is happening and some of this SSL compression, we're really kind of making up for some of the harshness that was going on there. So I really like this. Let's hear it in context. Pretty cool. So that's a quick demo of STL ControlHub. Try it out yourself and see how it works in your projects.